So today we're doing this video. I'm going to do this video talking about why these seemingly large companies are getting stimulus money. Guys, I have clients that I've been working with over the last 6 weeks, continuing to pivot, continuing to, try to move forward and work on other things that, their businesses are closed, but they're trying to figure out what else they can do. I do have clients who are realizing exactly why they need to have multiple streams of income, right? Which is what we were working on prior, and then this happened, and it just really confirmed for them why they need to be able to have not only multiple streams of income, but also cash reserves in their business and do things in a certain organized manner to make sure they're always going to be eligible for funds like PPP and like EIDL. But that aside, I'm working with people who aren't even eligible, even though they're small business owners. Yet you have companies like Mariott, Shake Shack, and tons of others that seemingly should be able to hold their own, and they have been given a lot of money through PPP and EIDL, but particularly PPP. So let's talk about why these companies are able to be eligible for that money. So one of the main things, guys, is the SBA guidelines. So it's kind of two things here, right? So there's regular SBA guidelines. Under regular SBA guidelines, there is still a little bit confusion because some companies in certain industries have to have a maximum only of 250 employees to be considered a small business. Yet other types of industries can have up to 1,500 employees and be considered a small business, okay? So there's that. Then there are also other guidelines that additionally you can qualify based for just regular SBA loans based off of the amount of revenue, your receipts, your annual receipts, right? You can be making millions and millions and millions of dollars and still be considered a small business because you're in a certain industry. For example, like the power industry could be up, I believe it's like almost $35 million, and they can still be considered a small business. However, if you really think about it, for a power industry, is $35 million a lot of money? Probably not. But so that's, that's food for thought, I guess. So those are some of the reasons, guys, why certain industries generally are even able to, under normal circumstances, qualify as a small business. Now let's switch our gears to COVID and the CARES Act, which is where you're seeing the PPE money and the EIDL money, right? And the biggest point of contention is with the PPP money, which is payroll protection for employees. They want people to continue to be able to pay employees. And the biggest draw for people to take this money is that two things. There's a $10,000 advance, $1,000 per employee, which it does not have to be given back because it's a grant. Then the money that's loaned to you, if you actually maintain your payroll, the loan will be forgiven. So I know there are people who are complaining about they don't want to go back to work, blah, blah, blah. Well, your company is forcing you to go back to work because they might have gotten this loan and they know it will be forgiven if everyone comes back to work, and they want that, okay? So that's the draw for a lot of these bigger companies that you think shouldn't even want to bother with this, would want to bother with it because it's a great deal for them, as opposed to whatever else type of funding that they would get at this time, which they would definitely be eligible for because their capital is high. So why are they still eligible as a small business? Well, a few things. One is, per the PPP and EIDL, you just have to have fewer than 500 employees. That's considered a small business. For you and I, a lot of people think about a small business like, your shopkeeper who only has 3 employees, maybe just even 2, them and their wife, something like that. We're thinking of really, really small businesses, like 10 people, 12 people. If it's anything more than 50, you might be like, ooh, this is a lot. You guys have a whole building? What? It's a lot. No one is looking at something like Mariott as a small business. However, also remember, some companies are franchises. And when a company is a franchise, those franchises stand alone as its own business, right? That's its own business. If you own a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's, You are your own company. You're not part of McDonald's as a corporation. Now, does McDonald's still own its own? Sometimes, I don't know if they still do, but I'm sure they actually do because I believe they're publicly traded. So sometimes the parent company doesn't own that it still owns and operates, but then they also let other people, use their business model, right? So basically, guys, the name of the game is that there's so many intricate details here that make it seem like, wow, these people shouldn't get the money. And guys, I totally agree. In most cases, they probably shouldn't, but there are kind of some caveats with this. So that's a couple of them. Let's continue to go talk about other things. Even if they're not franchised and they're one whole big corporation, like a hotel chain, right, that does not have franchises, they may be able to apply as an individual location. And if they apply as an individual location, then no, they do not have 500 employees. And they're going to use that to their advantage. And that is unfortunate, but it's the truth and they can do it. So if in that one location, they only have like 25 people working there, oh gosh, they're considered a small business in their state. So also remember, guys, the SBA is guaranteeing the loans, meaning the SBA is the one that had all the money, but then they sifted through lenders. So the SBA is not actually the one that you go to get the money. Okay, they're not a bank that's giving you money. SBA always works with lenders who are certified to actually give out SBA funds, and those are usually banks, community-owned, organizations, through partners and things like that, credit unions, all that kind of stuff. So the partners that they work with may have, slightly different requirements depending on the partnership. And that also may impact eligibility. So what else is there? Well, when we talk about fewer than 500 employees, again, like we talked about size standard, okay, which is the SBA thing, your size standard can still in this situation be impacted by your revenue, so your annual receipts and your industry, okay? And then lastly, guys, remember your NAICS code, okay? And this is something I talk about a lot with business credit because your NAICS code impacts, kind of if you're high risk or low risk. But in this case, it impacts how you're classified. So we might think that a company is classified as a certain thing, for example, and I'm pretty sure this one I'm right on, but this is just an example. I could think that Pepco, which is our electric company out here in the DMV area, is under utility, but maybe it's really under power for whatever reason, because maybe their parent company somehow, or maybe years ago and decades ago when they first started, they were under that and they're still under that, whatever it is. So we might not even really understand the real classification that some of these companies are under, and that's why they're also eligible for those funds. So there's a lot of tricks that, I don't want to call them tricks, because really, you know what? It's completely acceptable, so I don't want to call it tricks. It's just stuff that people don't know in order to take advantage and leverage like other people can. But for the time being, we'll just call them tricks. There are a lot of tricks that people use to make sure they're set up in a certain kind of way where in these situations, they will always be able to come out on top. And that is where planning and really thoroughly thinking about your business plan and where you want to go is important. Okay, so it's not just about getting your LLC or getting your EIN number. It's about a lot of other things that you have to kind of think really, really deeply and thoroughly and comprehensively about once you're in a certain place in your business and you really want to move forward in a really big way. So I think that's basically it that I wanted to talk about. I write down notes, guys, because I can ramble. I can talk about stuff all day. If you just let me go, I'll be talking about a whole bunch of other stuff by now. So I write down my notes. But in short, there are definitely a lot of companies that are taking advantage, and they shouldn't be taking advantage because they should have cash reserves. The kind of people who wouldn't have cash reserves is somebody who is what we usually would think of as a small business owner. Somebody who's an owner operator. They work in their business. This is their only source of income, or this is like one of their very few sources of income. And that person should be able to access funds. Unfortunately, I'm seeing tons of those people who cannot access funds, yet these bigger companies are accessing funds. Not to mention how credit also is impacted here. This is another reason why it's so important to build business credit, because when it comes to SBA, if you have no business credit, they have to leverage some kind of personal collateral. The only way that they won't do that is if you have a business credit profile, because then that will tell them about your credit worthiness as a company. If they don't have that, they're going to look at your credit worthiness as an individual, which will usually be your personal credit score. If not that, you're gonna have to put something else up, but you have to put something up usually for just even regular SBA loans. And I've seen a lot of people get denied for the PPP money even because they did not have what's the right word? Because they did not have the right things in place at the time. So sorry guys, I just kind of blinked right there. But anyways, I hope this was helpful in explaining a little bit about why these companies are getting the loan money, and honestly, they should just give it back and get their crap together. Just my thoughts. All right guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.